Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Let's start with a simple question. TV has promised the power of traditional television and also the precision of digital, the measurement, the targeting, and better attribution. My first question is, when it comes to Europe, how does it feel today?
So I've been in smart TV data for about 10 years now, first working in the US with Vizio and LG. And one thing that I've learned is that there was never a way to deploy something like that in Europe consistently across all the markets. So that's the problem we've solved. I'm Peter from Syncmate, by the way.
Hi, first of all, I will introduce myself. So I'm working at Canal Plus Brand Solution, which is the ad sales house of Canal Plus, and Canal Plus being both a paid TV operator as well as a broadcaster of free-to-air and a paid channel. And just we are operating in 70 countries in the world. So first of all, I would like maybe to specify what we mean by CTV. In France, for instance, when we talk about CTV, we include all TV that are connected to the internet, whether it's indirectly through the set-top box and also directly, so what we call smart TV. So CTV in France, we have about 90% of households that are equipped with a TV that is connected to the internet. And among them, 80% have a TV that is connected through the set-top box and 50% through a smart TV. So why the total is not 100% is because we have households that are toggling between their set-top box and their smart TV. But definitely we are in France in a set-top box first in a market.
Yes. That's a difference.
And when we talk, and also interesting to say, because here I'm talking about the advertising market, we see that CTV advertising is really booming in France. Just to share some figure, when we look at the overall video in-stream market, it grew by 18% in 2025. CTV ad revenues increased 5%. So this is really a boom. But looking at where the video ad impression are displayed on CTV, we see that in France, it's about 75% that are displayed on a set-top box environment, while only 25% on a smart TV. In Europe, it's more about 30% on a set-top box and 70% on a smart TV, while in the US, it's almost all are on smart TVs. So we really see that we definitely cannot transplant what happens in the US in Europe. And also in Europe, we cannot either have a pan-European approach because each market is very different. So this is adding a lot of complexity in the advertising CTV industry.
And where do you see the biggest gap today? Is it tech? Is it data? Is it the market structure?
Shall I go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hi, just to introduce. So I'm Nick Rouget. I'm from Sharp. So you've got the tech part here. We've got the media part. So I'm from the TV manufacturer side. And my role at Sharp is looking after our media and operating system partnerships. So in short, my responsibility is trying to work out how we as a hardware manufacturer monetize from TVs. So if I get my tiny violin out as a TV manufacturer, we find it increasingly hard to make money through margin on the sale of TVs. So earning from the lifetime of the device in the home is really, I can't overstate it, is kind of live or die for us as a TV business. But so to go back to the kind of first question and the topic today, where we're really looking at how data is used to help monetize within CTV. I think we've kind of failed in Europe, and your numbers are very, very interesting here compared to the US. But the opportunity here that I think we all buy into is if you can take the power of the big screen, what we know from traditional TV and its ability to really help build brands, but to add in data so that we can do the types of things with targeting, looking at reach and frequency and blending first-party data, that's where CTV can come something really, really powerful. And we can talk about the reasons why, but I think in Europe so far, we've collectively, with talk about some exceptions, failed to do that.
Okay. What do you think it has actually improved in the last 2 or 3 years?
What's improved? I think a general realization that, kind of to follow Nick's point, if you want to kind of create a new ecosystem or you want to participate in a new ecosystem in television that's emerged in the last 10 years, there are a few building blocks, the operating system being one of it, but also the technology that underpins the operating system and allows for the publishers on the monetization side of the platform itself to improve the user experience. And that's kind of where, from my perspective, our approach to this, having worked with the likes of Asamba and Vizio and LG around the ability to collect data on the viewing of consumers, something that is never going to really work in European markets. So our approach has always been to say, what if we can create a consistent layer of data around the ad appearance across linear, streaming, YouTube, gaming, all of those things, because that data can then underpin a new ecosystem in which the publishers on the OTT side, on the linear side, all benefit from the same data source that says, here's the reach or frequency across all of these different apps and all of these different channels for this particular household or group of households. So that's been sort of the thing that we have kind of innovated with. And that's what we're thinking is going to be one of the foundational layers of the future ecosystem of connected television.
Yeah,
Maybe if I can add something. In fact, in advertising, and I think in other markets as well, but in advertising, what really makes a market grow, I would say that there are two fundamental things which are easy of buying and measurable outcomes. And it's true that CTV still has progress to make in these two areas. Ease of buying, we see that right now we have a lot of buyers who want to buy CTV programmatically because there is a huge programmatic promise. It's to be able, first of all, to access all CTV inventory in a simple way, also to manage frequency capping, to optimize your campaign in real time, to get consolidated reports. And clearly on CTV advertising market, we are not here right now because, first of all, of the big fragmentation, so that there is a problem in terms of data reconciliation between a set-top box, smart TVs with smart TVs, several TV manufacturers having each their own operating system, and data reconciliation is key for frequency capping, for targeting, for measurement. There are also a lot of technical constraints that limit the campaign delivery when they are both via programmatic. For instance, for those that are a little bit technical but vast, that allows advertisers to measure visibility, attention, and so on. They are not supported in CTV environment. Also, each environment has its own prerequisite. And so if the creative download in the DSP doesn't meet this prerequisite, the campaign doesn't deliver. So in my team, there is a lot of time spent in troubleshooting. But the good news is that given the importance of the CTV ad revenues, we clearly see that the market is mobilizing. And so we do have the IAB that publish a guide with all the best technological best practice for buy side, sell side to facilitate buying on CTV. And also, I don't know if you heard about it, but there is the EPTVI, which is a European programmatic TV initiative that gather all the different key stakeholders, buy side, sell side, ad tech, to define the priorities and the requirement to help developing programmatic and facilitate purchase on CTV. So to answer your questions, right now, there are a lot of blockers that limit, I think, revenues on CTV, but I'm very confident that they will. This limit won't exist anymore in few years.
Okay, that's good news. So Do you think are we overcomplicating CTV versus how advertisers actually buy today?
No, I think this is complicated, and you've heard the word fragmentation a lot here. This situation we have in Europe, where especially if you compare to the US, where you have one massive market where everybody speaks two languages, and if you're an ad buyer, you can go and you can look at Vizio, Roku, and Fire, and you've basically got the majority of the market, right? In Europe, it's completely different. We have lots of different countries, lots of different languages, lots of different regulation. And I've been looking at this as part of my role at Sharp. We assess on a regular basis around Europe 10 different OSs. So if you start to take the market and you divide it down into all of these different pieces and come back to that advertiser and the agencies, when they look at this and they think, where do I put my money? It's too fragmented across where all the different options are, and everybody's doing data in a different way. Everyone has different ad formats. There's some really good things happening with IAB, but it is still very, very messy. I was talking to a high street grocery retailer in the UK recently about doing more in the CTV space, and they said, look, even if we talk to the leading CTV brand in the UK and we do first-party data sharing with them and we work out some of the promise of being able to say, right, well, I can see from this guy's shopping cart that he's now buying nappies. Why don't I serve more ads around baby food? Even if I do that with the market leader, it's 10% of the market at max. We're Tesco. I'm not supposed to say the name. We're Tesco. Why would we do this on 10% of the market? We need to be doing this in a pervasive way where we do it across the whole market. Otherwise, it's just another experiment. So I think that's really the challenge for advertisers, I think, fragmentation.
What I think is that more and more on CTV, we will have not data targeting, but contextual targeting, identifying which are the contexts, by context, I mean the contents, the programs that perform the most. And while you apply contextual targeting, first of all, you do not need to have the consent of the user because it's contextual. And also, it's a good way not to face the data fragmentation that we do have right now. Because right now, for instance, we have a lot of partnerships in France with retailers in order to be able to target on our environment on a TV screen, people based on their online or offline purchase. But because of fragmentation, it's not a silver bullet to be able to activate this data in all our environments. By identifying programs that perform the best in terms of purchase, that would be a good way to complement this targeting and to have a targeting that can work everywhere.
Okay, Peter?
Don't disagree with you. I'd like to refine something you said because I think there's a misconception around what's possible with deriving contextual data. The way we looked at building our company and our offering is that there's a moment where content becomes infinite. What's being consumed on screens right now, not just on set-top boxes, but through the smart TV interface of the actual panel, can be one of 15 things. We've shown Nick this at Sharp, and we realized we could probably power about 5,000 to 10,000 TVs a year because it's just on the higher end devices. So unless you want to do this within the broadcaster realm or within the OTT realm or within an individual publisher with the metadata that you can acquire from Gracenode or wherever else you do it, it's still something that happens in a silo. And that's kind of what I'm saying we shouldn't do. We should create a common framework in which we all use the data in the same way so that you benefit, but also Pluto benefits and M6 benefits from the same data and using this consistent data layer that produces the same outcome just on the ad exposure. No one really cares about their ad exposed being measured. People don't like the idea of being tracked or even the context being created around what they're watching. I can think of many behaviors that people would be very nervous about having analyzed by someone else, what it might be. Things with, let's say, sports of a certain type or other activities. People might be quite nervous. So I know what you mean about deriving context from content, but there are many cases where that even is more intrusive on the consumer experience than what I'm talking about.
I don't think here it's so intrusive because it allows us to identify which are the contents that perform the best, for instance, on people that purchase a vegetarian product. And so I don't think people people find or see that they are targeted. Because when you do contextual targeting, in fact, your campaign will address your target, but not only your target, because these are contents that are the more indexing against. But we can discuss about.
I bet you Nick talked about this in this meeting at this large retailer about their retail media offering, where they said, why don't you buy from our retail media network? Because that's where the people are when they buy.
I think a lot of the conversations we hear around CTV is how do we get CTV to be as effective or as good as broadcast TV? And that's crazy to me, right? The CTV should be better than broadcast TV. As I said earlier, the power of the big screen, but with this first party data. And contextual is important, undoubtedly. But I think being able to really drill into what somebody has purchased and then be able to show them ads based on that. And even just the simple things, reach and frequency, which I know we're working on with Syncbin at the moment. Amazon Prime, if I see this Uber Eats advert with Jude Law in one more time, I'm going to throw my TV out of the window. Right? Surely we're at a position now where we can say, look, I know Nick has seen that advert 300 times. I'm not going to show it to him anymore. So, very basic things like reach and frequency before we do first party closed loop data attribution and stuff. We're not even doing the basics properly at the moment.
If this was my keynote speech, I'd probably invite you to say that and then say, you know what, John Lewis is all I need to be able to tell. The only thing that I ever almost cried at in terms of television advertising was a John Lewis ad. That power does not all of a sudden go away now that we have CTV. So if you can prove that it works, why don't you just do it? Having seen it 10 times after on YouTube and no longer as moved as I was the first time. Yeah. I think that's the problem. You're spot on.
Do you think it's possible to have a unified measurement layer in the next few years?
We'll start with Sharp. We have signed a number of other partners in France as well. If I take back a step and from the consumer's perspective, what we always, let's say in a vision statement would say is that if you can create a way to create a common layer of data around something that powers an ecosystem, and it used to be linear television, the data around who sees what is measured by a JIC in most of the markets, and it's done very well. It's did for many, many decades. That's how it worked. This is the foundation of this new system. We're just maybe early in this. Again, I spent 15 years with ACR data and realized what the flaw was with it and what should be the common layer across all of the ecosystem so that you can create that measurement framework and then get Samsung and LG to participate as well. Then you have a way to do this for all of television, for all of Europe for the first time.
So maybe it's true that right now in France, we are not very far from having a cross video measurement with Mediamétrie is our JIC. They're also working with a project operating in other countries. So by the end of the year, early 2027, it will be possible. I think that there's a blind spot regarding fast channels we were talking about that do not fully fulfill Mediamétrie's requirement to be in the measurement. And I think it will be important for them to address that. But it's true that we are very close to be able to reconcile the overall audience, at least in France.
So I know just from the manufacturer perspective, we compete selling someone a TV, in the trenches to make sure that it's our TV that gets sold and is in someone's living room. But once that TV's there, we're not competing for ads with Samsung and LG versus Sharp. That TV is a Samsung TV. It is an LG TV. So we all then divide ourselves up and have Samsung ads and LG ads and TiVo ads and Roku ads, etc., all competing with each other. Told for who owns that screen is already over. So why not, by collaborating and all putting this together so that we have common ad formats, but we're using data in the same way, that we're integrating into retail media networks once rather than everybody trying to sell to Currys and Tesco separately. This is better for everybody. All boats rise, right, as the tide rides. Once the TV's sold, we should be partners, not competitors.
100%. And that's for you, Emmanuelle. What it's one real innovation that it's already improving in CTV today? Is it creative? Is it?
Yes, in fact, we are really working on the advertising experience. As you can imagine, for pay TV operator, their experience is critical. As advertising is being more and more part of this experience, finding the right balance between ad revenues and user experience is key for us. And what we think is that having a better experience, a better advertising experience, is an advertising with better ads with less ads. So we are really very cautious about the outloads, and I think we do have the lowest outload in the market, but also in the creative and the type of ad. So right now there is, for instance, the pause ad post that everyone knows, so that appears on your screen when the user pauses the program. So this is typically a non-intrusive format that has a significant impact for the brand. But we are also imagining other formats. What we do is that when a user launches a program, it creates the illusion that the whole platform is transforming into the brand's colors. So it really creates a wow effect for the user. And this format reaches the high intention score and a better consideration for the brand. There is also another format where this time the advertising is more integrated in the content discovery. I think we all experienced it, but finding something to watch in the evening can turn into a nightmare. And so we are working a lot at Canal Plus, and we invest a lot in content editorial creation. And what we do is that we offer brand the possibility to sponsor curated content that are aligned with their territory. And typically, it is a non-intrusive format that is fully integrated in the experience and that provide a real value to the user. And also something we are working on is to be able to extend the advertising experience wherever the user experience happens. So we set up partnerships with car manufacturers. So for the drivers to be able to watch content while they are charging their electrical car. And tomorrow with an autonomous car, they will be able to watch content while their car will drive themselves. And we embedded the ad so the brands can be connected to their audience wherever they watch their content and leverage on the new video moment. And maybe the last things, and I would say last but not least, we are working with AI. With AI, we are able to identify within film series objects, actions, themes that are aligned with the brand's messaging. So it allows the advertiser to be very close to these moments. So, for instance, for a car manufacturer to be very close to a scene where there is featuring car chasing, for instance. So for us, innovation in format is key. But here again, and I will conclude by that, we need to be very cautious because too many innovative formats within the same contents can harm the user experience and have a negative impact on the content engagement. I would say, like everything, it's just a question of balance, and we are aiming to find this right balance.
Yeah, I think this opens up some really interesting topics and comes back to data and targeting. So what you're seeing here on the screen, really good examples of non-endemic ads. So as manufacturers and running OSs, when we first started bringing ads into the home screen experience, they were endemic ads. So by that we mean, so if you're Disney and you want to advertise the new Disney movie, this is a good place to do it. is it the right place to be putting an ad for Land Rover that's not related to content? And I think users definitely have a lower tolerance to non-endemic ads than they do to endemic. But if we're able to use the data and we're able to do effective targeting, then people have, we as marketeers, we always overplay this thing of, it's not that people don't like ads, they don't like irrelevant ads or ads that get back to law, right, that we see every 15 minutes. I don't think that's 100% true, right? People would prefer to see no ads apart from Christmas Day and the Super Bowl. But if you're putting up non-endemic ads, I think you've got to be using smart targeting to make sure they're relevant, or people are going to say, I bought a TV to watch TV, not to be pushed ads.
I have one example that counters it, but I think you're 100% right. Who did an interesting thing with Barbie, the launch of the movie. So it was not for endemic. It was not for an entertainment brand on the interface. Just showed the whole Roku interface as a pink colored, Barbie themed experience. So it's experiential. And to your point, that's exactly what people like. People like seeing an ad that's relevant and also entertaining. So if what we do together improves the quality of ad as well as the relevance, and then measures how effective they end up being, I think we all win, right? That's maybe the goal we should set ourselves, rather than just sit in each respective silo and try and create a better world for only ourselves. Do it for everyone.
Yeah, and I think this leads into, and maybe we go into a sort of a minefield now, the whole, as sharp, the balance between the user experience, monetization, but then also perception around data privacy. And I think the genie's out of the bottle now in terms of, the newspaper articles I see of, my TV is listening to me, my TV is, the Chinese are here and they're looking at what I'm watching, etc. We've got this legal case in Texas at the moment where Texas judges decided, weirdly, Vizio, Roku, Fire are not included in this, but all the Chinese and Korean manufacturers are being sued in Texas for listening to what people are watching. But I think if we're all honest as manufacturers in all of this, I think the way perhaps we have got consent for things like ACR until now has been a little bit sleight of hand. It's been a little bit like, we're going to activate these new features in your TV to make the viewing experience better. Oh, by the way, you're giving us this data that we're then using for advertising. So I think, like I say, the genie's out of the bottle. We got to be straight with this stuff and straight with our consumers. And back to my, it sounds like I'm obsessed with Jude Law. The ads obviously worked. But if somebody could say to me on the consent thing, we will take your data, we'll collect your data, but we will make sure you will not see the same ad more than 5 times in a given time, I'll sign up straight away. Absolutely no problem. You don't have to trick me to give me your data.
100%.
100% aligned as well. So just to close, as we are running out of time, we have 1 minute and 30 left. I would like to do a very quick round to close with this question. If we meet again in 2 years, what needs to be true for us to say CTV finally works in Europe?
I think we need to all align behind the message that advertising is there to support content. And without advertising, there is no content except for the 10% or the 5%. And that's not sustainable in the future of connected television. That's what we need to realize, all of us.
Yes, we talked a lot about fragmentation, which is a reality. I really hope that tomorrow AI can help address most of the frictions we have, at least in the advertising market. I think in 2 or 3 years, measurement on CTV will be live. Just maybe to conclude, in the advertising market, during the several years that we heard, this is the mobile year, this is the mobile year. So right now, I really think that we are entering the CTV year period.
Okay, Nick.
Cooperation and partnership to combat fragmentation and create some real scale.
Lovely. Thanks so much for your time.